Joining us now, Bill O'Reilly. Of course, his new book, Killing England, another huge bestseller. He's the host of the No Spin News podcast, and he joins us now. Bill, how you doing? Good to talk to you.
Good, thank you, Lauren. We hit number one on the New York Times list, knocking out Hillary Clinton. You'll see that a week from Sunday. And BillO'Reilly.com, you're going to be our special guest on Tuesday, so everything's going well for me.
Fantastic. Well, my book's coming out Tuesday, so I'm going to knock you off number one. So sorry about that, but someone's got to knock you down a peg or two. You're too often on number one.
Lose to you than Hillary.
Yeah, exactly. You're too often on number one. You need a little competition. It gets you start to get flabby when you don't have any competition. So I'm going to give you a little competition next week, Bill. Let's talk about this. The Democrats' lurch to regulate firearms and all the things that they always do after a shooting like this. We'll do that in a moment. But before we do, what questions do you have that are lingering after these initial reports that, of course, he was a lone wolf, acted alone, no terrorism connection, no motive, no religion, no politics? All that information was pushed out really quickly within 6 or 7 hours of the shooting. And yet we seem to be learning more and more as the days go on.
Well, we did an investigation, and it's ongoing on BillO'Reilly.com, and came up with two things that I think are very important. The first thing is that the purchases of almost around 50 guns in the last year or so by this man all were legal, and they all went into the FBI database. 50 high-powered weapons in 1 year. Now, you would think, in the age of Al-Qaeda and ISIS and all the terror, that would put a red flag up for the FBI, that they would know about that. Not true. The data goes into the computer and isn't flagged, even if you buy an enormous amount of weaponry. And that is a flaw. Absolutely a flaw. Because anything out of the ordinary, and the government tells everybody to do this. If you see something, say something. All right? If you're at the airport, you see suspicions, report it. Okay. Well, the FBI has got to have a mechanism in their machinery to flag them when something's out of the ordinary, which this certainly was. That's number one. Number two, when we're talking to a local security guy, he came up with something that I had never even thought about. Every police department in America, when they have an event of, say, more than 2,000 or 3,000 people, has to have SWAT teams posted around the event. Las Vegas PD did not. So they had 25,000 people standing in a what was pretty much an empty lot, but they had no SWAT team. If they had that, they could have immediately started shooting at the sniper. Then I learned that at Yankee Stadium during the ball games, the NYPD posts snipers in the stadium high above the game. And so to me, that were the two things that I learned, two things that could really save lives if we, make the FBI be more efficient and get the word out to local PDs. You got something like this, you got to have SWAT and snipers available.
So what would you do? Would you outlaw people buying a certain number of guns per year or in some time frame, or you just go visit them, or what would you do?
Yeah, you interview them. Look, the Second Amendment is fairly clear that Americans have a right to arm themselves and protect themselves, and it's not going to be infringed. And that's not going to change, no matter how many loony leftists in short pants jump up and down and scream. It's not going to change. You could change it by a vote of 3/4 of the states. You could throw that amendment out, but it's not going to happen. However, within the amendment are common sense public safety rules. You cannot have a bazooka or a mortar, all right? It's a public safety issue. You can extend that a little bit to these stock things that take a semi-automatic and turn it into an automatic. You can ban them. The criminals will still get them. We all know that. This guy had explosives. If he had used the explosives in a car bomb, he would have killed more people. And what are you going to do? You can't ban things that make bombs. So we have to basically do what we can do. I wrote a column and it said, this is the price of freedom, that loons are going to hurt people. Even if he knew this guy was unstable, even if the FBI had gone out, he would have said, I'm a collector and I'm just doing this as a hobby and I have no record, and the FBI couldn't have done anything to him. But at least they would have known about him. And that's why the interviews that should take place are necessary.
We're talking to Bill O'Reilly here on the Laura Ingraham Show. His latest book, Killing England, is a huge bestseller, #1 New York Times list, BillO'Reilly.com. Bill, when you hear the left, the usual suspects on the left, people like Michael Moore, we'll hear from him in a moment, they instantly go to the president's nuts, the president's crazy, must be removed from office. I want to play this and have you react to it. Let's listen.
We have got to get rid of Trump. I mean, it's serious. I hate to put it this way, but I have a fire lit under me, I guess, and I'm doing whatever I can do, and I think people watching this are doing what they can do. He will take us to war. We have to stand up immediately. Don't even stop to if Trump is taking us to war, you have to automatically assume this is an insane idea from an insane man.
That's touching on the North Korea issue. Rick Wilson, who is a GOP consultant, and they were embarrassed in the last election, he has a film he's trying to raise money for called Everything Trump Touches Dies. And he's put on, he writes for the Daily Beast, he's on television, and all they do all day long is say Trump's evil, Obama a saint. Trump's evil, Obama's a saint. Trump's crazy, Obama's brilliant. Day in and day out.
Correct. At least Michael Moore is honest enough to state what he wants. The Washington Post, New York Times, network news organizations, they want the same thing, but they don't state it. But Pew just did a study you might be aware of that said in the first 3 months of Trump's administration, national media coverage favorable 5% of the time. 5%.
I mean, it's just...
And that's before Trump got in, didn't even do anything. So we know the fix is in. But here's some good news. Looking at the cable news ratings for the Vegas story this week, which is a big story, all right? Everybody in America is engaged on this story. It's not a political story. It's a horror story. And decent Americans are very, very interested in this and why it happened and trying to prevent it from happening again. Okay. The two liberal networks, CNN and MSNBC, are getting clobbered in the ratings, particularly MSNBC. No one is watching them. So ask yourself why. Why, in a breaking news situation, would viewers reject those two networks the way they are? And it's because they don't trust them to tell the truth. Okay? That's the reason. So all of this hate Trump stuff is beginning now to work against the far left and the dishonest hordes that their only goal is to make it impossible for him to carry out his administration.
What did it feel like, Bill, to be back on Fox last week with Hannity? I mean, I watched every minute. It was awesome. It was a great, almost an hour you were on for. And so many people, of course, asked me, are you going back to Fox? Are you going back to Fox? And all these people want you to go back to Fox. But you're really missed out there on daily television. And what was that like, walking back into the building?
Well, first of all, Sean Hannity had really stepped up and helped me. I don't think Killing England would be #1 without his help. Solid guy, known him for a long time, just like I've known you for a long time. He knows that what happened was an organized political hit job, because the same thing was happening to him. Yet he was able to fight it back, and more power to Sean Hannity. When I came in the building, the best part of it was that I saw all my old staff and everybody, all the tech guys, and it was like a big party. So I went up to the studio, about 20 minutes before airtime, and the place was packed. It was rocking. And that was the best part, that these are good people. And I so enjoyed seeing them again, talking about, I don't know really what I'm going to do. Laura, you're going to start a new show on Fox News, and I hope you'll keep in close touch with me because I will help you every step of the way.
Bet.
But you got to be prepared. You're going to be attacked personally every single day of your life, and I was for more than 20 years, every single day. It's so hateful. It's so horrible now. And if you read Cheryl Atkinson's book, The Smear, she lays it out as vividly as you could possibly lay it out with facts.
Well, I think that you're right. It will happen. Good thing is I don't read anything. I don't read any of the stuff that they write or really care. But you're right. It is vicious. But that was a phenomenal segment with you. I really enjoyed it. It was one of the best hours of TV I've seen in a long, long time. Bill O'Reilly, congrats on the book. We'll see you next week on your show. And, of course, Killing England, #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. Bill O'Reilly on The Laura Ingraham Show.